Biologically and socially, we are wired to guard our assets. Our default state is to protect our resources, our time, and our egos from any perceived threat or unnecessary loss. This modern curated life functions like a sealed jar, perfectly contained, safely measured, and entirely under our own management. 2,000 years ago, in the village of Bethany, this instinct for self-preservation was challenged by a single public act. The setting was a dinner hosted by a man named Simon. The timing was critical, Passover was approaching, and a plot to execute Jesus was already in motion. In this room, the obsession with efficiency and self-preservation was about to meet an act that defied every standard of practical logic. During the meal, a woman enters and shatters a sealed alabaster jar of pure nard over Jesus' head. She pours out an amount of nard worth 300 silver coins. That represents an entire laborer's annual salary, evaporated in a matter of seconds. The response from the room is immediate. The guests criticize the act as a waste, arguing that the asset should have been sold to fund charitable work. But their focus on the loss ignores the physical reality of the jar. If the vessel remains unbroken, the fragrance inside stays trapped. This act suggests that the release of what is truly valuable requires a total departure from the usual calculations of gain and loss. Today, that alabaster jar represents our need for control, the things we hoard to maintain our status or our comfort. We can see how this ego is dismantled by looking at a modern diary entry and a drawing of a fractured jar. The author places a cross at the top, noting, "The Lord first gave himself for me." This observation provides the logic to let go of self-preservation. From the cracks in the jar, 3 specific qualities flow out, represented by the Chinese characters for truth, virtue, and service. Service becomes the natural byproduct of this internal shift. It is the fragrance that escapes only after the ego is set aside. This theory of the broken jar appears in a very practical way in the author's diary. The author was on a personal evening walk, protecting their own downtime, when they were suddenly interrupted by a neighbor in urgent medical need. Instead of protecting their schedule, the author stopped. They set aside their routine and their resources to address the crisis immediately. The qualities from the diagram appeared in real time. The author applied medical knowledge, truth, showed compassion, virtue, and purchased the necessary medicine, service. This demonstrates how the ancient principle of the broken jar functions today, identifying unrepeatable windows of opportunity to help others. Living a broken life attracts scrutiny. When you stop guarding your resources, the people around you may find your choices impractical or even reckless. The disciples in the biblical account focused entirely on the financial efficiency of the 300 denarii, illustrating a common human obsession with direct, measurable output. This chart shows the difference between 2 metrics of value. While secular logic tracks a linear return on guarded assets, Jesus identifies her sacrifice as a beautiful thing, ensuring her act would be told wherever the gospel is shared. This focus on divine approval serves as a psychological shield. It allows a person to maintain their course even when a world focused on efficiency demands a different result. To live an impactful life, one must eventually choose between the world's ledger and an entirely different metric of value. Consider the current state of your own internal defenses. What specific asset, comfort, or routine are you currently clutching too tightly? Holding on to the jar perfectly preserves its contents, but it also ensures those contents stay exactly where they are, hidden and without impact. To fill the room with fragrance, you must first be willing to let your perfectly curated life be broken. True impact and a lasting legacy begin at the exact moment of complete surrender.